Friedler Law Group, in various iterations, Gordon and Friedler, Friedlandsdorf, was in business for 25 and a half years. I started it in 1988. I left a firm called Barron and Stadfeld in Boston, which the good news is that I was very, very fortunate, and it grew very significantly over the years. But the problem with the growth is that you, in some sense, become, for lack of a cliche term, a victim of your own good fortune. You wind up, after 25 and a half years, being the chief cook and bottle washer. You are the chief marketing officer. You are the IT person. You are the CFO. And you are basically everything that chief fire stopper in the organization. And you find yourself, in some sense, moving away from the day-to-day practice of law. So where it may seem bizarre that after 25 and a half years I would choose to deploy my entity in another venue, that's essentially what I did. I also read a book by a woman named, a professor over at Harvard, named Sarah Lawrence Lightfoot, who's the first endowed black professorship at Harvard. And she wrote a book called The Third Chapter. And in that book, it discusses how people as bizarre as me in the third chapter of their life start to do things differently. And after reading that book, and really after working with a consultant at my firm for many years, I decided at that point to move the practice into a situation where I'd have the support of a larger organization. And now I do have at Ruberto, Israel, and Weiner an IT department. I have a chief marketing officer. And we have an executive director. And now this allows me to still be entrepreneurial in terms of development of our practice and taking care of my clients, but to devote more time to my clients as we move forward. It is definitely a firm with an entrepreneurial bent, and in fact, it is really more in the nature of a business law firm. I am an estate planning attorney, as you know, and a trust and estates lawyer, and there is a strong emphasis about looking for clients or working with clients that want to do things like business succession planning. That's often something that's ignored as part of an estate planning process. You can get basically your personal stuff done, but somehow the business is sort of out there, and that's something that's generally ignored by the entrepreneur themselves. It's almost like the shoemaker who doesn't have shoes. But it's so important to have those types of arrangements completed so that your wife or your husband, whoever the entrepreneur is, doesn't have to deal with the surviving shareholder in their life to operate this business. People should be getting their planning done for not necessarily for estate tax reasons. The vast bell curve of clients can be under the misimpression that they don't need to do their estate planning because they don't have $5.45 million or almost $11 million with a spouse to necessitate getting their planning done. I mean, nothing could be farther from the truth. I've said this mantra for years. The estate planning is not just for the wealthy people, not just for the rich, and it's not just for people who are old. A young couple with children, a young family needs to have their estate planning done for very, very viable reasons. They need to put together some insurance so that if something happens to them, their kids can go to college. They need to have the insurance owned properly, perhaps in an irrevocable trust to keep it out of their states and not subject to mass estate taxes. They need to have powers of attorneys so that they can make financial decisions for each other. They need to have health care proxies because they don't want to wind up on a life support machine forever. If you look at all the cases of the Nancy Cruzans, the Karen Ann Quinlans, these are all very young people because the young people can survive the traumatic accident traumatically by their physical constitution. The old people can't. So trusts are very important for long-term management and control, guardianship for young children, nominations so that you decide who's going to be taking care of your young kids so that some other person that you have not selected is managing your children should something happen to you. So it's not just for the very rich, and it's not for the very old.